scared for my life.
Go ahead. All right, yep.
It's not my fault.
You can't sit and tell me you don't know anything about it. It's under your house.
Dude, I never thought that this would be my life. All from a man that I just should have stayed far, far away from.
I am required to read you your rights, okay?
Saturday, April 1st, 2023, Aurora, Colorado.
Hello, non-emergency. This is Ethan. How can I help you?
Hi, Ethan. My name is Kyla Duberstein. I'm actually calling from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm calling about my son, who lived here in Phoenix and moved to Denver a couple of years ago. And he went missing around Mother's Day last year.
What's your son's name?
His name is Carl, K-A-R-L, and the last name is Dean, D-E-A-M-A-N.
How old is he?
He's 35. Nobody's been able to find him or talk to him. I created a missing persons page on Facebook for him, and today a woman posted on there that she knew he was killed, she knows the address, and she knows the people involved.
Okay, I'm gonna put a call in for this.
The operator alerts Aurora PD's Homicide Division. 2 days later, on Monday, April 3rd, a detective makes contact with Kyla.
So I'm calling to follow up with the report that you made to our department.
Yes,
I guess it would have been 2 days ago.
Saturday.
To start with, if you don't mind, if we could just kind of start from when Carl kind of came out here and you know, what was going on and what led up to him disappearing and all that.
He moved back to Denver in May of 2021, and he was just living with friends, kind of bouncing around, living in his car. And then...
So, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you say last year, you hadn't heard from him for a long time. What do you think the time frame was on that?
Let's see. Before that Mother's Day, probably 2 weeks.
Okay, so 2 weeks prior to Mother's Day of 2022?
Yes.
You hadn't heard from him. Would that have been unusual?
It was unusual.
Weeks went by, and Kyla called Carl, who also goes by KJ, repeatedly, but his cell phone went to voicemail. She also reached out to KJ's friends. Alarmingly, no one had seen or heard from him either. In July of 2022, Kyla contacted a different Denver area police department and filed a missing persons report.
So, then what?
So then I kind of waited, and then I had a friend who from high school who her husband is a private detective or private investigator. So I hired him, and he did some looking around. And he's the one that found out that Carl had the warrant for his arrest.
According to the warrant, in May of 2022, the same month he went missing, Carl and another man had been caught trying to steal catalytic converters in nearby Thornton, Colorado.
And when I talked to the detective about it, he said that, you know, they picked KJ up and he took him to the police department and questioned him. But at that time, they didn't have proof, and so he had to let him go. And then I guess a day or so later, they got a video that showed him doing it.
Okay.
And it was at a park and ride in North Thornton somewhere. And so, I don't know. Then I had some of his friends are telling me, because he does have military training, and that they said, you know, if KJ wanted to go off the grid and hide, you know, he would be able to do that. And so I kind of thought maybe that's what he was doing because he had the warrant. And maybe that's why maybe he was hiding from it.
Still, her intuition told her something was wrong, so Kyla took action. With the help of one of KJ's friends, she created a Facebook page dedicated to finding her son. A few days ago, she finally got a lead. The tipster's username was Nope Try Again.
And she said, I'm so sorry to tell you this, that KJ was killed, and sorry. And so, I freaked out, and so I said, how do you know this? Can you tell me more about it? And so then she sent me a long message later in the day saying what her name was.
The tipster identified herself as Sierra. She claimed that several weeks ago, her friend Casey Bach made a shocking confession. KJ had been murdered by her boyfriend, Haskell Leroy Crawford.
At first I thought it was a hoax, but then when she sent me that longer thing and she had a lot of information, a lot of detailed information, I knew that it was not a hoax.
According to Sierra, Casey told her she helped Leroy bury KJ's body under a crawl space in Casey's apartment, and then Leroy covered him with cement. After exchanging more messages, Sierra gave KJ's mother her phone number. So KJ's mother reached out to the police department she contacted back in July of 2022, only to discover the officer she spoke with never actually filed her son's missing persons report.
Okay. Did they give you a reason why?
She didn't know.
Okay.
She just apologized and said she didn't know what happened.
Would you be able to copy those messages she sent to you?
Yes, I'll email that to you right now.
Okay, and I will keep you posted, all right?
Okay.
Later that day, Aurora PD detectives speak with Sierra. She swears everything she told KJ's mother is true. Last month, Casey came over to her apartment high on drugs and started rambling on about how Leroy had killed KJ, and she helped him with the cleanup. At first, Sierra didn't believe Casey. Then she went online and started looking up information about KJ. When she stumbled upon the Facebook page his mother created, Sierra was horrified to realize that Casey might be telling the truth. Scared to go to the police, she decided to message KJ's mother instead. After speaking with Sierra, investigators do some more digging and make a crucial discovery. When KJ was arrested back in 2022 for stealing catalytic converters, he was arrested alongside none other than Leroy Crawford. That gives detectives a direct link between their alleged victim and his alleged killer. Leroy is also no stranger to violence. In September of 2022, months after KJ went missing, Leroy was arrested and incarcerated in Jefferson County on an unrelated attempted homicide charge. April 4th, 2023. The next day, police head to Casey Bach's apartment with warrants in hand.
Take your hands out of there, please. You have a warrant for your arrest, okay? I'll explain it to you here in just a second. I'm going to take your backpack off.
Grab your stuff. Yeah.
Grab your stuff here. Is it Casey or is it Cassie? Okay, Casey. So we also have a search warrant for the apartment. Yeah, I understand you have 2 dogs in there. Are they friendly?
No.
Okay. What are their names?
Dog and Pluto.
Okay. So let me just get you situated here and then we'll explain more what's going on.
Casey tells police her 2 children also reside in the apartment. After arrangements are made for her mother to pick them up from school, Casey is taken down to the Aurora PD station for questioning.
Come on here. We got the dog.
With her dogs safely detained, police execute the search warrants and enter Casey's apartment.
We're making it 3.
Yep. Please offer no.
If you guys push past, then we'll have someone clear the closet.
Inside one of her closets, police find what appears to be a trap door rigged with locks. When they remove the door, they discover a crawl space underneath. Inside the crawl space, a foul odor fills the air. It's coming from a large, suspicious concrete mound. When police peer through cracks in the mound, they spy what appear to be human remains. Based on what Casey reportedly told Sierra, police believe it's the body of KJ Beeman. However, they won't know for sure until the remains are excavated and the coroner's office makes a positive identification. One thing is for certain. Casey's apartment and the crawl space are now officially a crime scene. Back at the police station, detectives sit down with Casey and confront her with the evidence they've just found.
Now, what I can tell you is we did make it into the crawl space, and we found more or less what we thought we would find. And I understand you were a little upset with some of the things we were saying. But we would like to come back and speak to you and just not be confrontational, nothing like that. We just want to talk to you, okay? But as I mentioned, our other detectives were over there and they did go into the crawl space we were talking about and
you found a dead body on my floor?
well, that appears to be what we found.
Okay. How much?
Well, that's kind of up to you. That's why we're coming here to talk to you. And we're kind of to that point where obviously we're going to have an ongoing investigation, right? There's a lot of work for us to do. But now is your time. Okay? Now is your time
I don't know.
to say your piece.
My piece?
To try to give us, because you're not going to have, it would be unlikely that you're going to have another opportunity to give us your side of the story.
I don't even know anything about this.
Okay.
How would I have to say my piece with what?
The detective calls her bluff. He tells her a witness came forward to police and repeated what she said Casey had told her, that KJ was murdered and buried in her crawl space.
And Casey, here's the deal. We're trying to be very respectful to you because we don't think that you're the primary person involved in this. We don't. That's why we're being, for lack of a better term, we're being soft. Okay? Because we don't think that you are the person who created this whole mess. Okay? But we do think you know about it. And we do think that maybe you were somehow involved in getting this under here. So this is your opportunity to decide where we're going to go with this.
I don't know anything about this.
Okay? Well, that's the problem. You can't sit and tell me that you don't know anything about it when the whole way we got here was by you telling somebody that this is what happened.
Yeah, all of that is made up because I didn't say that to anyone.
Right. Well, that's not made up.
What the hell is that?
You tell me. It's under your house.
That looks like 2 pieces of wood, dude. Like,
This, you're right. That you are absolutely
know
right.
what's
This
going
looks like
on.
2 pieces of wood. What is this?
Do I look like I'm a criminal?
Did we say that?
No,
We didn't say that, did we?
I'm not
We never
saying you said
we
that.
never accused you of being a criminal. We haven't made any comments
I would
on
like my
on you.
lawyer then.
Despite her proclaimed innocence, Casey Bach isn't going anywhere. She's charged with being an accessory to a crime and thrown in jail. At approximately 7:44 p.m. that evening, police receive a call from a man identifying himself as Casey's new boyfriend. He says Casey just called him from jail and said she's ready to talk. Detectives meet with her again.
Sit down there so I can talk to you.
It's down over there. Okay. Thanks.
Of course, Sergeant.
Thank you. All right, Cassie. Well, we were contacted by your boyfriend, and he told us that you would like to speak to us.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that that is correct, that you would like to speak to us. Okay. Do you understand that before you asked for an attorney, right?
Yeah.
And do you understand that all those rights still apply to you?
Yeah.
Okay. With that being said, would you like to speak to us now?
Yeah.
Okay. What can we do for you? How can we help you? Or what you're able to say?
No, you probably can't help me. I just know that I don't want these charges placed on me because I did not do this.
Casey tells detectives Leroy is the father of her children. They've been in an on-again, off-again relationship for years. She came to know KJ through Leroy. KJ and Leroy were once so close, their kids even called him Uncle Carl. But in 2022, after KJ and Leroy were caught trying to steal catalytic converters, Leroy turned on KJ.
There was one night he was talking about him and KJ were having problems, and that he thought KJ was a rat. It was working with the cops and that it needed to be taken care of.
Okay.
And the next thing I knew, I was coming home from work. And when I got home, he was in my apartment. And KJ was already dead. In my bedroom. And he forced me to help him move KJ.
I'm sure this is very difficult for you.
No, I don't.
Do you know what had happened?
No. I know I seen a bag over KJ's head.
What kind of bag?
I don't know, it's just a bag. It's the white bags.
Like a white plastic sack?
Yeah. I don't know, like a white Walmart bag.
Like a grocery type bag? Okay.
You know,
It's okay, take a little time.
I don't know, dude. I never thought that this would be my life. I never thought that anything that has unfolded in my life would be my life. But it is. And it's all from a man that I just should have stayed far, far away from.
Are we talking about Leroy?
Yeah.
Casey says her relationship with Leroy was a toxic mix of drugs and domestic violence.
So let's, and I hate to kind of come back to something really traumatic, but let's talk about, you say Leroy made you help move KJ down under
He
there.
couldn't move him by himself.
Okay,
I told him I didn't want to.
okay.
I tried to leave. He grabbed my arm.
So did you guys pick him up and put him down there?
He forced me to drag him.
Drag him? Was there blood anywhere?
No, I didn't see any blood anywhere.
Weapons? Like anything at all? From knives to baseball bats or
I
anything?
mean, I have weapons all over my house.
Did any of them appear to have been used?
No.
How did the cement and all that stuff get down there? I know we showed you the photograph. How did all that end up down there?
Because he thought it would be smart to cover him in cement.
Leroy did?
Yeah.
And how long did that take? Did he go and do that night? Or that day? Did he do it over the course of a few days?
I think he did it the next day.
Detectives press Casey for more details of KJ's murder, but she seems more concerned about herself.
Is this gonna help me any?
We will be 100% frank with you. The charge that we are charging tonight is not going to go away, okay? That being said, we will get a greater understanding of what actually happened and how involved you actually were. This is obviously a very serious situation.
I know it's serious,
So,
yeah.
I know. Okay. So, and we don't want to lie to you. We could just lie and say, you can tell us this and everything will go away. Unfortunately, that's just not the truth. Yeah, that's just not the truth. Okay.
But it's important for us to understand exactly what your role was.
I didn't want a role in it.
I know, but you ended up in it.
Without a guaranteed deal, Casey is less and less forthcoming.
Let's try to do just a linear timeline of what happened that day, okay? You had mentioned, and I'll help, okay? And if you correct me if anything I'm saying is wrong. You said that Leroy was upset because he thought KJ was snitching or ratting to the police. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was that before all of this happened?
Yeah.
And you said that he said something like it had to be dealt with. I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, okay? So if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, it's That's not at all what I said, man.
Okay, I thought you said something along those lines. Maybe I'm mistaken. So what did he say?
Now I'm just like confusing myself. But I just know I didn't do this.
Eventually, Casey shuts down. April 5th, 2023, the following day, police call in a team of experts to excavate the human remains in Casey's crawlspace. 27 miles away, Aurora PD detectives arrive at the Jefferson County Detention Center, where Leroy Crawford remains in custody on attempted murder charges in a separate case.
How you doing this morning? All right. We're detectives with the Aurora Police Department. We're at the Major Crime Section, okay? We're here to hopefully talk to you about a case we're investigating. I will let you know we're not here talking about your case that you're in custody on, okay? So it's important that you understand that. It's also important you understand we record all our interviews, okay? We're actually required to do that by the state. I know you see all the cops with body cameras on and all that. Now, because I do have you here, I am required to read you your rights, okay? And I assume you've been through that before and you kind of understand how that works. It's because you're in custody and I'm gonna ask you some questions, okay? Are you cool with that?
I don't know. Last time I talked to cops, I ended up here.
If that's the case, I'll just go ahead and lay it out to you, okay? We're currently investigating a situation at the mother of your children's apartment, and that's Casey, right? Okay, and we are actually in the process of serving a search warrant there. Basically, we got some information which led us to get this search warrant and go into the apartment. All right, now I would like to ask you some things about that. That's why we're here, okay?
Detectives read Leroy his rights.
Do you understand your rights? Well, as I mentioned, we're investigating a situation over at Casey's house. What I would like to do to start with is, if you don't mind, I'll just show you a photo of somebody and tell me if you can tell me who it is. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I know this.
Okay, who is it?
It's KJ.
KJ? Who is KJ to you?
Yeah, he was one of my friends.
Okay. Well, he's been missing. We're trying to find out what's going on with him, okay? So, last time you saw him, do you know about when that was?
I don't. Because it's been a while, like a year.
Okay.
What does have to do? I don't know what's going on, so.
Okay. Well, we're basically investigating his disappearance. Okay. We're at the Major Crime Section. We investigate missing persons and homicides. Okay. So we're
The fact that I was in here for talking to a cop.
I'm sorry?
As in the fact that I'm in here being charged with something I didn't do for talking to a cop, I think I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I literally was helpful as to the cop I talked to, and I'm in here facing retarded ass charges.
Okay.
For something I didn't do. So.
Well, I don't have anything to do with that, okay?
I know, but still, I think I'm done.
Okay.
Several days later, the excavation is completed, and the remains are transported to the Arapahoe County Coroner's Office. The coroner confirms the victim is Carl KJ Beeman. His death is officially ruled a homicide. For KJ's family and friends, the news doesn't come as a surprise, but it remains just as devastating. In his honor, KJ's friends set up a fundraiser to cover the funeral costs of the man they remember as a kind and genuine person, with a big smile and a contagious laugh. His presumed killer, Haskell Leroy Crawford, is charged with first-degree murder, and police and prosecutors know there's one person who holds the nail to his coffin: Casey Bach. In July of 2023, after 3 months in jail, a now sober Casey agrees to sit down with police again. This time, she holds nothing back.
Well, we're saying initially we just give you another chance to kind of tell us about what happened that day, and then from there we can ask some more questions.
I don't remember why KJ was coming over that evening. All I really remember is that Leroy had a 9mm on him. And he pointed it at me and he said, I'm going to do what he said.
So Leroy pointed a gun at you,
Yeah.
the 9mm, and said you're going to do what he says. Okay. So you answered the door for KJ.
Yeah, he told me to bring KJ inside.
Okay. Was Leroy hiding? Was he in the back? Was he?
No, he was hiding around the corner because they entered through my back door.
Okay, understood. So Leroy's hiding here. All right, and then KJ comes in this sliding door.
Yeah, he told me to let him in and to lock the door behind him.
Okay. And then what?
And I brought KJ in, I'm pretty sure. I was like, hey, do you want to smoke? And that's when I walked past Leroy, and Leroy had my 20 gauge in his hand.
Okay, so now at this point he doesn't have
He doesn't have
the 9mm anymore. He's got a 20
he had
gauge
no
shotgun. And it was, remind me, that was also in the apartment, wasn't that?
Yes, that was fine. He brought KJ back, told him not to do anything stupid, and to get on his hands and knees.
So he's pointing the gun at KJ. Okay, and what is KJ doing when he's doing it?
Kind of just standing there, and Leroy walked around and got behind him in the living room, and told him to go back in the bedroom.
And is that your bedroom? The one that's all the way at the end of the hall? Okay. And I know this is probably really hard, okay? But after they went into the back bedroom, then what?
Pretty much just like tormented him for hours.
Okay. Did you see any of that?
I seen him hit him with a hammer.
Where did he hit him?
I don't remember exactly. I knew that there was music playing.
Did you hear KJ scream, yell, or anything like that?
The music was playing really loud.
Did Leroy come and go out of the room, or was he back there the entire time?
I was back there.
Okay. I'll ask first, did you ever hear any gunshots?
I'm pretty sure he hit KJ with the gun once.
Okay.
Before the hammer.
And what makes you think that?
I just remember that.
Okay. So you saw that?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Like I said, obviously, I was really high.
Do you recall what kind of things he was saying?
I think he was trying to get out of him. That KJ was working with the feds.
Okay. So Leroy thought that KJ was working with the government or the police or something.
Casey says for hours, Leroy tormented and tortured KJ inside her bedroom. As the sun rose the next morning, it came to a stop.
Okay,
I
so
walked back there, and all I see was KJ on the right side of my toilet, and Leroy had a wire wrapped around his neck, and he was pulling on it from my bathroom with my shower. He was wrapped around the shower.
okay, so KJ is being pulled around the neck with this wire, and that wire is wrapped around the shower head, the shower curtain, shower door. Okay. So at that point, did KJ look like he was still alive? No. Alright. And what made, and I'm sorry, I know this is tough.
What made me think
What made
that?
you think he was dead? Or how did you know?
Because that's what Leroy wanted that night, was to kill him.
Leroy ordered her to help him clean up the crime scene. Casey felt she had no choice but to obey him.
He just killed his best friend. I was pretty scared. I was scared for my life. And he's sitting there telling me he was going to rape me. And all I'm thinking about is my children are about to wake up, and he's making me clean up blood from his best friend. So I was pretty scared.
Casey recalls Leroy wrapped KJ's body in a white mattress cover, then forced her to help him move KJ's body from the bathroom into the crawl space. Then Leroy took off.
Okay. So now KJ is under the crawl space, and you said Leroy left and didn't come back for, I think initially you said a couple days. How long do you think it was?
I really can't remember. I know that it was like 2 or 3 days until he covered him up.
Okay. And what did he bring with him to do that?
Like 3 bags of concrete. Bucket. And he had all of his work tools already at my house. So I'm pretty sure everything he needed was already there.
Gotcha. So after he did that, and do you know about how long that took him to do that? Did he say anything to you after that? What was,
I guess what was his demeanor after all that?
Just said that we're not going to talk about this.
Did he make any threats then?
Yeah, he told me that he'd hurt me if he found out. And he said people were watching me.
Okay.
And people knew in case I did let anyone know.
Do you have a decent, and I don't expect you to be able to like point to a date on a calendar or anything like that, but now that we've gone through all this, do you have a decent idea when this occurred? Obviously you said it was summer.
No, I don't really remember. This was a while ago.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a lot of drugs, so I don't really remember.
As the interview comes to a close, detectives ask one final question.
When we spoke to you the second time, last time when we were taking you over to the jail, and you gave us kind of a better account of what happened, why not give us the whole story then?
I'm so scared.
Okay. And scared of what?
Of what was going to happen to me, my safety, my kids' safety. Leroy still knows where my kids are at, and that didn't really put me past him, that he wouldn't do something to hurt them.
In exchange for her cooperation, prosecutors offer Casey a deal. She pleads guilty to being an accessory to a crime. She receives a deferred judgment and is released from jail. As his trial approaches, Leroy decides not to roll the dice. He pleads guilty to second-degree murder. In April of 2025, he's sentenced to 30 years in prison. At Leroy's hearing, KJ's mother comes face to face with her son's killer and tells the judge, "He murdered my only child. We may never know all the details, but the defendant does. I hope it haunts him every day for the rest of his life, like it does me."